Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in internet land. Thank you for joining me, That Retro Geek, for another YouTube video discussion here at Retro Geek Gaming, where we like to talk about stuff that's mostly gaming related, but occasionally every now and then we throw in a sprinkle of other stuff. So what am I going to talk about today? Well, you can already tell by the card and probably the title and all that stuff, because I'm just blatantly obvious about what I talk about. We're going to talk about trophies. Now, I think that I've already kind of gone on about this at some point in an earlier video. Don't recall how far back it was, but I decided to revisit it. So this is a top picks, if you will, of the trophy or achievement types that personally kind of bother me. And I know that this is something that is going to be different for other people. So if you have a particular type that you don't like, put them down in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. But without further babbling from me, let's go ahead and talk about the trophies / achievements that bother me, that sort of just make me want to think twice about, do I really want to play this game or try to get all the trophies that I can. Now, I'm throwing this one in here with an asterisk next to it because I love collectibles. I don't mind collecting in a game. You know, sometimes it throws a little bit of extra into a game because, you know, hey, go ahead and get 20 some odd coins or find these 50 some odd whatevers, you know, books or whatever the collectible is they want to throw in. But the caveat, and so this is not really even part of the list, it's just kind of a bonus one. The caveat to it is the number of collectibles. As an example, let's say Breath of the Wild had trophies. Do you think that I would go for, 999 some odd Koroks? That's a little bit too much. So, depending upon the number, I don't mind, because usually collectibles are even still like, hey, even if there's 900 of them, or even if there's, well, that's obviously a little bit too much, but even if there's 100 of them, I could probably still go for it, because I do like exploring and going into these little areas that maybe you didn't think that there was a little tunnel up here that if you grappled up to and then you went down into this tunnel that you're going to find something secret. And so that's a little bit extra fun for the game. I like exploring. That's the reason why Metroidvanias are one of my favorite genres of games. But as long as it's not a ton. Does that make sense? But anyways, moving on to the official list. Number one on this list, and not necessarily the highest that I would say is the most irritating one, because it depends upon how the game does it, and that's online-based trophies, because I'm the kind of person, I like single-player games, I like solo adventures, but you can throw in an online trophy because I understand, hey, yeah, the game is designed for online play. That's the whole point of it, right? Like, certain games have, like, if I was a Call of Duty player, I would expect to go online and play Call of Duty, right? But when you look at certain ones, like back in the day, Perfect Dark Zero, I believe had like 5 single-player story-based achievements, and I think they were just locked to difficulty, and I think that's all that it was. Maybe there was 3. The rest of them were all multiplayer based ones, and the reason why it's annoying is because if you look at certain ones like Resistance for the Vita, for an example, or just even Resistance nowadays, because I don't think that any Resistance game has online servers anymore. If you get into the game late, when either nobody's playing it, or maybe you go back to it later on, and nobody's playing it, right? Or, in the case of what I just mentioned, the servers are now gone. Well, guess what that does? That means that now, if you're the kind of person that you're going for all of the trophies or all of the achievements, you're now locked out of them. And that's a little bit of annoying, because when it comes to Resistance, I'm only 1 trophy away from having the platinum. And that 1 trophy is to play a online multiplayer match. That's it. Just one multiplayer match. Nothing big. It just says to play it. It doesn't even say to win it. It doesn't say you have to complete it. Just start it. Something that should take me just a few seconds to do. But I can't because there's no Resistance servers anymore. So therefore, I'm locked out of the Platinum. And that's usually not that big of a deal, but it is something that occurs a lot more, especially around that that time period, I should say, of when these trophies were all online based. Like, I remember, what was it? Now, if you can get the Platinum anyway, without having to go and play the whole game or do any online, that's fine. But I remember like Uncharted 2, I think, did that, where it could give you the Platinum for doing the single player based trophies, but it still gave you online ones anyway. So yeah, that's would probably be number one. That's annoying, is when you have to go through and do stuff online. So the next one on my list is one that, again, kind of feels like it needs to have a caveat or some kind of an asterisk next to it, because it depends upon how it's done. But that's also all of these trophies and achievements that I'm talking about. And that is ones that are speedrun locked. Now, do I mind doing speedruns in a game? No, not really. I've done speedruns before. I have taken certain games, like Shadow Complex as an example, and I have completed the speed run for it. And it seems like, based upon how the achievements are done, they give you plenty of room for these games to be completed. Like, I just did Journey to the Savage Planet, and there is a achievement that says to beat it in under 4 hours. And based upon what I've seen of certain speed players, the time stamp says that it can be done in about an hour and a half. So it feels like it's generous in how that is. But if you're the kind of person like me, like I said, that likes the Metroidvania games, that likes to do the exploring and making sure that I find all that stuff, it feels like you have to choose between, do I want to beat this game swiftly, or do I want to play it again? And that's a hint to a future entry. I have to choose one or the other. Do I want to go and find all the collectibles and completely level up my character till I can get all of the abilities and all of the, the scanning stuff to find everything? Or do I want to beat the game real quickly? Well, that doesn't seem very fair, because it puts it into my next entry, which is games that force you, or I should say trophies or achievements that force you to play the game more than once. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because, again, you want to get the most out of the game that you can, but it doesn't need to feel like it's forced. As an example, I know that all this is going to sound stupid now that I think about it, because, yeah, trophies and achievements, they're optional things. They're not anything that you have to complete. I know that I've abandoned some games and haven't completed them 100%. But again, I like to get as much out of it as I can. So when you give me a new game plus option, but it also says to beat the game on the hardest difficulty that you can in new game, that doesn't really sound like that's... or again, it locks difficulties behind beating the game on normal, so you have to beat the game 2 or 3 times Dead Space for you to be able to get, the hardest difficulty, to then go and beat the game on that hardest difficulty. So it's just a simple matter, and like I was talking about with Journey to the Savage Planet, they actually have one where, it has all of it. They have one where you have to play online with people and beat the game with them, and then there's also a hard mode one, which they call, I think it's Old Game Classic or something, where you basically get like 3 lives, and you have to complete it online with another person, and you share the lives. So just kind of that I mean, they're there for challenge, and so I get it and I appreciate it. But I'm just saying that there's some times where it feels like, why am I being forced to play a certain way when these games, especially ones that are Metroidvanias or choose your own adventure kind of games, the ones that are, with dialogue in it, sort of make you sort of feel like you have the freedom to play this game however you want, but then it tells you have to play it in tactician mode. You have to play it on its hardest difficulty. You have to play a certain way. You have to take a completely good path or a completely bad path in order to get this achievement or this trophy, and it just doesn't feel like it's very fair. And then I guess the very last one, just because I'm having difficulty now thinking about other ones, and this is the last one that came to my mind, are time-consuming ones. Now, when I say time-consuming, again, I feel like that needs to have an asterisk next to it. We're not talking about ones that, you need to do over the course of a playthrough. I'm talking about ones where you need to, as an example, I believe it was it Proteus was the game? Proteus was a pretty interesting game that I played, but I believe one of its trophies had you look at every single flower for every single season. So that means that as you're playing the game, you have to go to a field, look at every single flower, and then when it turned to the next season, you had to go look at every single flower again. And that's okay to do, but sometimes some of these games go such extreme that you have to put like 50, 60 hours into playing online, or 100 hours into playing online just for you to get to a certain rank. Or just examples like that, where it feels like, okay, I understand your purpose to it. You want to have dedication to the game. But sometimes some people out there, they might not necessarily have 100, 200 hours to dedicate to just strictly an online mode, or they might not have the capabilities to get online. I know that there are still some parts of the world that don't have very fast and very reliable internet. And even if you put that in a single player aspect, okay, of having to put 500, 600, 1,000 hours into a game just to get a certain achievement or trophy, is it really worth it? Now, that's not nearly as commonplace. That's the reason why it's the last on the list, is because I feel like the more games that I've been playing, the less that I've been seeing that, and that most of them are still being more single player focused, so that's good. But still, I think it might come up every now and then. There's probably some games that I don't even know about that ask you to do that. So that's my list. What do you guys think about my list? Were there any that I missed? Because I'm sure there are, and I'm sure you're going to leave me a comment of one that I've missed, and I'm going to like, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that? So that's going to be my video for today, guys. Thank you for watching. As always, I appreciate all the support. If you did watch it all the way through, feel free to leave a like. Feel free to subscribe if you want, because I try to give you weekly content here on the channel. And that's going to be about it. Just me, a guy ranting in front of a camera to then upload it to YouTube for maybe 3 people to watch. So have a good one, everyone. I'll see you next week.